Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is a wildcard video for match day 3 of the World Cup. And before we get into it, if you are new to the channel, any support is greatly appreciated. Any likes and subscribes. Currently on 52 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. But if we can increase that, that's always a positive as well. So let's get into it. So before we get into my team, I thought it'd be important to just look at teams you should be targeting in match day 3. And there's really two sorts of teams you need to be looking at. They're either teams that are got really easy fixtures against teams that are maybe knocked out, or teams that have everything to play for and are going to be really motivated, and you know where they stand in terms of player selection because they're going to pick their strongest team. So we're going to start with the Netherlands, and they're not quite through just yet, although they are still, favourites to qualify. But they play Qatar, who have been knocked out, and I do think that is a great fixture for the Netherlands there. Portugal against South Korea. South Korea not performing very well. Portugal are pretty motivated and still favourites for the group. And South Korea have just lost to Ghana as well, so they're not really in the best shape right now. Germany, Costa Rica shipped in 7 against Spain, and although they did turn it around to beat Japan, you don't really know which team are going to turn up. Germany, meanwhile, whilst inconsistent, are better on paper and will be having higher expectations and will be expecting to win that game and qualify for the knockouts. Next, we've got Brazil, home to Cameroon. Now, well, not at home, but they're playing Cameroon. And whilst Brazil have just qualified from their group, it is important to worth noting that Cameroon are shipping in goals. They have conceded quite a few, and Brazil do have options, and there is also that chance that you can sub somebody out before they've played, so you can get wind of the Brazil lineup for that Cameroon game and then swap out whoever you've got if they're not in it to target that game. We've also got some outside teams to target, and we start with Morocco at home to Canada. Now, Canada again are already out, and Morocco have a chance here to, really shock the world and qualify from their group. Whether they're going to do it or not, it remains to be seen. But there are some good options for Morocco to consider. Denmark at home to Australia. Again, whilst Australia have sort of picked up a little bit, um, they are sort of the team that you don't really know what you're going to get. And Denmark do have more natural quality in their team. Argentina home against Poland. Now, whilst Poland are currently leading their group, Argentina are a bit up and running, and I do think they are someone that you are going to be able to target one or two of their players and get them in teams. And finally, we've got the USA against Iran. I think USA, the sort of, Iran won one, lost one, and I think USA are playing pretty well. They did all right against England, and they are going to take it to Iran. And that game, you could easily also flip and say maybe you get a couple of players from Iran in your team as well because they've got the USA. That's up to you. So on to the team we've got here, and we're going to start in goal with Schmeichel. Actually, also got a defence including Mailer as well. And Australia have struggled with chance creation. Whilst they've scored in both the first two games, they've not really been able to keep that sustained pressure. And Denmark did keep a clean sheet against Tunisia and kept France at bay for the duration. So I really don't have a problem with doubling up for Denmark defence here. And we're also going to double up with the Netherlands as well in terms of Dumfries and Van Dijk. And I do think it's worth, whilst you're wildcard, because bear in mind you get another wildcard for the knockout stage as well. So you can afford just to really target these teams and that you think are going to give you the best chance of clean sheets. And for me, I think the Netherlands have no chance of losing to Qatar, and they're as nailed on for a clean sheet as it gets. I couldn't really see another team that was as nailed on for a clean sheet as the Netherlands are. I think if you're gonna get if you've got a team that you think are absolutely gonna keep a clean sheet, why not double up in their defence? Rounding out the defence, we've got Hernandez. So although France are already through, their injuries and lack of options at left back means that Hernandez will likely stay in his place in the team. And Tunisia are also yet to score. So if Hernandez does play, you would think even if France rotate, they are highly likely to get a clean sheet. Into the midfield, and we start with Kimmich. So as well as teams getting easy fixtures, as we spoke about, it's also about teams that are motivated, and Germany fit the bill perfectly. Kimmich has been on almost all the set pieces, and whilst they're not necessarily been good deliveries, he'll probably stay on them. So he's likely to be highly involved in any chance creation, balls into the box. We saw Rudiger have a goal disallowed. I believe Kimmich delivered that ball in, and that is a sort of chance that you think he could possibly get. We've also got Ericsson. Denmark need to win, like we spoke about, which means likelihood of goals or at least trying. They did score from a corner against France, and Ericsson is on set pieces. So whilst you might say that Denmark are not necessarily firing from open play, I do think this is a good World Cup where there are a lot of chances created from free kicks and corners. But to target those players that are taking them makes sense to me. Next, we've got Foden, and it's risky, given Southgate's unwillingness to rotate. But I think the pressure on him for Foden to play may mean he gets the start. I think the sort of backlash if he doesn't start and England don't play well again, would he want to then start Foden in the first knockout game? I think he'd rather give him the start now when the sort of, they are highly likely to qualify from the group. And then if it doesn't work well, he can go back to his tried and tested methods. And if it does go well, he's not really lost anything rather than take that risk in a knockout game. Um, I think if you don't want to take the risk, go with Saka instead. I think Saka is someone that's started consistently for England, rather than Foden. But like we say, if you can make the changes up until kick-off anyway. Um, Bentancur, great value at 6 mil, and Ghana have conceded five in the first two games, and he's got a box to box style that could fit this game well. I do think I think Valverde maybe would have been a preferred option, but he's not really. He's a bit too expensive for this team. So I think Bentancur is a great backup. Onto the attack, and we're going to start with Depay, and it's not had the hot start we were hoping for. He didn't get the minutes in the first game, and sort of the chances weren't quite there in the second. Uh, but he should score against Qatar, really, and have plenty of chances. And at 8.5 mil, I think this, if you're isolating one match day and some games to target, I do think Depay is somebody that you should really get in. And we've got Messi as well. And whilst Poland, the team they're playing, have kept two clean sheets, they're yet to be tested consistently, other than the penalty from Saudi Arabia. And if that had gone in, then it's no clean sheet there. Argentina are now up and running and will want a win. Messi's the guy. He's already scored 2 in 2, and there's no reason why he won't at least get some chances against Poland. So on the bench, we start with Rocher for Uruguay, and he's the cheap keeper that's starting really. Whilst Ghana are scoring goals, I'd like to think that between him and Schmeichel, one of them will keep a clean sheet. If Schmeichel doesn't keep a clean sheet, put Rocher in your lineup off the bench, and there's a chance that he will as well. And if Schmeichel keeps a clean sheet, well, you've got the cheapest keeper on the bench. Just keep him there and take Schmeichel's clean sheet points. Asensio, listed as a midfielder, but played essentially as a centre forward against Germany, and he did also score in the first game against Costa Rica. Be interesting to see whether Morata starts or not. But off the bat, going into game week three, match day three, I do think that Asensio is somebody that is good value and still likely to start. Uh, Ram, the left back for Germany, he got lots of forward touches against Spain. Costa Rica have shown they can be vulnerable, and Germany need to win. So there is that chance that if Germany score early, there's kind of that risk that Costa Rica just fall apart like they did against Spain. And if that's the case, he looks so dangerous against Spain, dribbling his way into the box and a couple of cutbacks that just missed out on the on resulting in a goal. And finally, on the bench, we've got Richarlison. Cheap way into Brazil attack. They've just qualified, so he may not start. But you could swap for Gabriel Jesus. Whoever you think is going to start up front, or whoever, and when the team sheets are announced are going to start up front, I would definitely say a Brazil striker or attacker against Cameroon would be great. Some top tips to finish on. So target teams, like we said, with something to play for. Don't target those teams that are already through or already out. You're not going to get the same consistency of performance that you might otherwise get. Look out for rotations. So keep your eye out if you can on the starting 11. If you can't during the day, then maybe target players who are playing on an evening, so you can swap them out if you need to. If you're sort of working during the day, might be worth considering. And go all in match day 3. I'm definitely going to use my wild card in match day 3, and you get another one for the last 16 as well. So there's no point looking into the knockout rounds of who you think is going to qualify. Just go for the players with the absolute best fixtures that you can. So that's the video. Let me know what you think about my team. Like and subscribe. Any support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next.